Fellas, hey, if you're listening to this, it's the Gabbin' and Game podcast intro. There will be some dead air as always, and then we'll kick it off with a song, and then on the other side, we'll begin the show. Just giving you a heads up, this will be time-stamped. The one the other day was not time-stamped. It should have been. I apologize for that. This one will get done. I hope you're well. Happy Friday, and I'm going to stream out that we are streaming, and we're going to get this thing started. I'll see you soon. Here we go.
Scotty doesn't know that Fiona and me do it in my van every Sunday. She tells him she's in church, but she doesn't go. Still she's on her knees, and Scotty doesn't know. Oh, Scotty doesn't know. So don't tell Scotty. Scotty doesn't know. Scotty doesn't know. So don't tell Scotty. Fiona says she's out shopping, but she's under me and I'm not stopping. Cause Scotty doesn't know, Scotty doesn't know, Scotty doesn't know, Scotty doesn't know. So don't tell Scotty, Scotty doesn't know. I can't believe he's so trusting, while I'm right behind you thrusting. Fiona's got him on the phone, yeah, she's trying not to moan. It's a three-way call and he knows nothing, nothing. Scotty doesn't know, Scotty doesn't know, Scotty doesn't know. Don't tell Scotty, 'cause Scotty doesn't know, Scotty doesn't know. So don't tell Scotty, we'll put on a show, everyone will go. Scotty doesn't know, Scotty doesn't know, Scotty doesn't know. Parking lot, why not? It's so cool when you're on top. His front lawn, in the snow, laughing so hard, 'cause Scotty doesn't know, Scotty doesn't know. I did her on his birthday. Scotty doesn't know, Scotty doesn't know, Scotty doesn't know, Scotty doesn't know. Don't tell Scotty, Scotty doesn't know. Scotty will know, Scotty has to know, Scotty's gonna know. I'm gonna tell Scotty, I know myself. Scotty has to know, Scotty has to know, Scotty has to, Scotty has to, Scotty has to go. Scotty doesn't know, 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 Scotty doesn't, Scotty doesn't, Scotty doesn't know.
Well, don't tell Scotty. Don't tell Rob the mod. Don't tell Rob or Scotty. We're starting. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Gabbin' Games Friday, the 11th of March. It is good to see everybody. I hope your week off kick-in is starting well. Let me close this out here. All right, so fellas, there we go. You goddamn right. I'll never not have the can. Hello, fellas. Good to see everybody. Let me take a sip of the bubbly, and we will begin our little show. I've been playing a lot of the wrestling game, the WWE2k22. People seem to like it. I'm going to read you a little bit later in the show one of the oddest reviews I've read that just shows that I'm getting really old, and I honestly think it would be very challenging for me to work within the industry as at least the kind of designer I used to be, because I'm staggered by what this one reviewer said about this game. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but I've been playing that, but I think this weekend, unless I do some streaming, is going to be all about Elden Ring. I really love that game. I'm having such a good time with that game. And I love just having long stretches of time to get lost in that world and really immerse myself in it. Ashura says, Jaffe, what are you waiting more for, Elden Ring or God of War? Ragnarok. Well, I mean, I already have Elden Ring. God of War Ragnarok is... hang on, I forgot the bubbly. Hang on. Thank you, Zero. That's a reminder. Oh, that's good. Okay. Ragnarok, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I'm not all that, I don't care about it. Like, it's not on my radar. I will absolutely play it because I loved the 2018 one. You know, I took a while to come to that, to play that game, because obviously I had this kind of, you know, I was emotionally invested, and it took a while for my brain to get to a place where I was willing to kind of look at it with an open mind. And when I did, I thought it was fantastic. But I got my fill of it, and I was very happy. I finished it. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. And then I was kind of over it. And so when I saw the Ragnarok, whatever, the things they've released so far, the trailer preview, whatever, I don't think they've done like full-on gameplay. It's just been edited, highly edited stuff. It looked great, but it looked like more of the same. And nothing's wrong with more of the same. I mean, a lot of people will tell you that God of War 2018 is, you know, game of the generation, one of the best games ever made. And I think they would have a pot to piss in. I don't know if I would agree that that's true, but I certainly can understand and appreciate that perspective in terms of how they respond to that title. So for them, they're probably, you know, super thrilled. For me, I'm like, you know, I'll wait. I'll play it maybe if the reviews are off. I want to play it because I want to support the team, and I am curious what Eric Williams, the director, this is really his first time, even though he's been insanely influential in nothing but positive ways for the entire series from the very first one. I do want to play it to see what he's like as a director, because it's his first game he's ever directed as far as I know. But other than that, and just supporting the team, I guess my answer is I'm much more interested right now and bought in on Elden Ring. But that's not to cast anything negative about God of War, other than to say what they've shown so far just looks exceptionally samey, and I'm kind of over what they've shown so far. So, I don't know. That's my answer. BB says, Jaffe, you have to play Strangers of Paradise Final Fantasy, the demo that just came out. I will play it. I will download it. I've heard it's really janky and kind of weird and cheeseball, but it's actually apparently really fun to play. So I am curious about it. So I will play it. Shore says, Jaffe, do you think they're really going to kill Kratos in Ragnarok? I've talked about this before. I don't understand. Maybe it's, I don't know. I don't understand game fans, Ashura. I don't get it, because when in pop culture does anything ever get killed and stay dead if it makes money? And yet it's this thing they roll out over and over and over. It's like, this is the last ever Nathan Drake adventure. We're done. We promise. Godzilla's dead. Michael Myers is dead. So I would suggest this. I would say that if they do kill Kratos, it's not like they're killing Kratos. Kratos would come back. I mean, the man's climbed out of hell how many times at this point? It's not like, oh shit, he's really gone. He's a fucking cash cow. Are you kidding me? He's a fucking cash cow. Amon says, Gamers Logic, Sony will kill Kratos off for story over making millions of dollars. It's charming in its naivete, as they say. It is. You know, maybe this Ashura person is really young. I don't fucking know. Or maybe they just have an innocent, a refreshingly innocent view of the world when it comes to capitalism. But the idea that the art comes first in show business, the idea that the story that, well, Nathan Drake has to go away. That's the end. You know, the only time I've ever actually seen that happen was George Lucas. They were asking him about the prequels and about, well, why did you have to open it, you know, with a trade war and the whole text going up the screen talking about, you know, a blockade of trade negotiations breaking down and then putting a blockade in space. And Lucas's response was so clearly from a man who funded it himself and doesn't answer to anyone. He says, well, yeah, but that's what the story was. Like, it's like, you didn't find the story, you know, like Joseph Smith found the tablets, wink. You know, you made it up. You're a writer. You could have said, well, maybe that shouldn't be the story because it's boring as fuck. But no one's going to retire Kratos. I mean, why would you do that? He's not real. He's not like, oh, he needs a break. They'll put them away if marketing and sales and development go, you know what, we're going to be better off if we take a breather, just like WWE2k did. Even though it's not for the same reason they would take a breather, but it's like there's value in giving a character a rest to make people kind of miss him. So I don't think he's going anywhere. Yeah, Kratos says Jaffe is like a comic book hero. Many of them have died only to return sometime later. Death isn't the end. Of course not. Of course not. Even Wolverine and Logan. Oh, he's dead. Yeah, sure he is. He's dead until we hear that Kevin Feige's bringing back Hugh Jackman for one of the multiverse movies. You know, even if it's just a cameo. He's not dead. He's not dead. You know he's not dead. Brian King says, but Joseph Smith did find those tablets. Yeah, I'm sure he did. I'm sure he really did. Oh my God, Gabriel, I'm looking forward to watching that this weekend. I want to watch, is it called Becoming Red? And I want to watch The Atom Project. The Atom Project with Ryan Reynolds, directed by Sean Levy, who's the producer and one of the key guys that got Stranger Things off the ground. He's also directed some good movies and some shit movies, but apparently Atom Project is really good, and he's lined up to be the director of Deadpool 3. Did I see the new Scream movie? No, I have not seen the new Scream movie. I hear it's decent, and I will see it, but I haven't seen it yet. I'm wait till it's stream. Okay. Turning Red is what it's called. Okay. All right. Let's get into some video game news, shall we? Yeah, Tony Stark will come back. You kidding me? Thanos will come back. It's of course. It's just what they do. It's what they do. If you ever want to laugh on this topic, check out the video Max Landis, The Death of Superman. I hear Max Landis is a really shit human being, but I'll check it out for sure. Okay. NPD sales come out today or yesterday, but Benji Sales is a guy I follow. He used to follow me. I went to his thing today, and he doesn't follow me anymore, which I don't mind, but it always makes you curious why somebody unfollows you. It probably was that nightclub tweet where he probably thought the worst of me when he didn't really understand the context, but that's fun. Regardless, though, he does a website and a YouTube channel, and he covers the NPDs and sales and analytics and all that stuff. Yeah, Matt Piscatella apparently blocked me. I don't know why I pissed off these analysts. Maybe because I talked about having Michael Patrick come on the show if he wants to. But yeah, let's talk about this. So we'll start with hardware first, which is interesting. So Switch sold the most units. I think they said that Xbox Series X was the second in terms of overall hardware, but I think they made more money. I could be getting that mixed up, but Switch definitely was number one. Xbox Series X and S were 2. PS5 was 3. Obviously, that has sent a number of man-children into a frenzy of, we beat you, no, you didn't beat us because it's supply constrained, blah, blah, blah. I don't really care. I think it's great, honestly. I think it's great that we are seeing the fruits of Game Pass begin to pay off for people. It really is a great service, and I'm looking forward to seeing how Sony responds to it. I thought we would have found out by now, but it just, what fun, what great competition, what wonderful beneficiaries we are of watching these guys slug it out in terms of what we get to play. Yeah, Zero Signal says PS5 made more money, but it sold third. Okay, there you go. Okay. Some Cursive Butterfly says Sony is tone deaf. Why? Why are they tone deaf? Now, let's go to the software. The software is really interesting. I'll just go up to 10, but it gets interesting when we get into number 5. And this is a blend of digital and physical. Number 10 is Minecraft. Number 9 is FIFA 22. Number 8 is Mario Kart 8. Number 7 is Madden 22. Number 6 is Call of Duty Vanguard. Number 5 is Total War Warhammer 3, which is pretty fucking good for a super niche strategy game of a license in America that is never really connected. That's not too shabby. Number 4 is Dying Light, which is very, very good for, given how much shit it got on release for being buggy and broken. I mean, it's good for them. It may not be good for gamers. The new Pokemon is number 3. Number 2 is Horizon Forbidden West. And number 1 is Elden Ring. Now, I saw this write-up. This was in VentureBeat. I think this was Jeffrey Grubb, who doesn't like me either. They're sensing a pattern, fellas. This is Jeff Grubb. And people are like, yeah, you're an asshole. I'm really not. I just don't put up with sensitive people who don't use context. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So they're talking about the game. So I thought it was interesting that they actually used this phrase. They said, From Software, the studio responsible for Elden Ring and Dark Souls, has built its niche audience into something formidable. But with Elden Ring, you can no longer even call it niche. This is the new mainstream. I mean, that's pretty fucking interesting. I don't know about that. I think Elden Ring I love it. It's probably my favorite game of all time. I'm addicted to it. It's brilliant. I think next week, when it comes to Horizon and when it comes to Elden Ring, is going to be really interesting to see the legs that these games have on them. Because Elden Ring, no doubt, is front-loaded. No doubt it's had this hype. It's been built up. It's these rabid fans. Social media is going crazy. The reviews are great. But I would be stunned if it doesn't also have a meaty return rate in terms of people buying it and trying to get their cash back. Because it's certainly not for everybody. It's certainly... they do a much better job of making it friendly, and their onboarding is night and day compared to Bloodborne, which I thought was terrible onboarding, but I love that game too. But I don't know. I wonder if it'll really keep selling. Right now, it is the number one selling game of 2022. In the last 12 months, from 2021 and 2022, it's the number 5 best-selling game. Horizon, I'm curious about as well. Now, I'm going to say this, and people are going to get mad at me, and that's fine. Horizon, to me, is like Sony's Metroid, in that I think Aloy and I think the franchise will always be resuscitated and brought back, and Aloy will always be kind of part of the family, but Samus is no Mario, and Aloy is no Kratos or Nathan Drake or Ellie and Joel or even Sweet Tooth. Not in terms of sales, but in terms of just resonance. I don't know. I know that the first one sold 20 million. I don't know. I could, maybe it's just me because I don't particularly like the Horizon franchise. I don't hate it. I'm not opposed to it. I just find it kind of bland at best, and the main character super annoying at worst. But that may just be me. To me, Horizon feels like Infamous. It's beloved by the hardcore Sony faithful, but it's not really traveling outside of that ecosystem. So I will be curious to watch and see if it turns out that it continues to sell because people actually do love it when they play it. Eric says, my cousin bought Elden Ring purely on hype. He never played a Souls game before he returned the game. Yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, I that wouldn't, as much as I think it's a brilliant game, and I think a lot of design philosophies will be taken from it and applied to future games that are mainstream. I don't see Elden Ring being that kind of thing that it'll be more than a cult hit. Like Returnal's a cult hit. Elden Ring is a smash hit. But I don't think it's going to be, at the end of the year, I don't think it's going to stay the number one best-selling game of all time. It just doesn't seem as user-friendly as it needs to be to sell those numbers. I wasn't blown away by Zero Dawn. Horizon, says Zaf. The story was predictable, the combat okay, the open world was generic. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't for me, but a lot of people loved it. Brian E. says, to be honest, you never played Zero Dawn. You didn't really commit to Forbidden West. It's understandable you have no attachment. Yeah, I mean, again, but there's a reason I didn't. I didn't because I thought, as Brett Williams says, it's generic and boring to me. So, it goes both ways. You can say I don't like it because I didn't commit to it, but I could say there's a reason I didn't commit to it. But that said, though, after 1 month on the market, Elden Ring is the 5th best-selling game, and it's number 1 on Steam and Xbox. It says here it placed number 2. But what's interesting about that is the figures came out that like 75% of people buy digital on PC and Xbox. They're digital platforms. It tends to be a 50-50 split on PlayStation. So if you actually go over, if you look at the NPD reports that we're talking about right now, that split makes sense, that Elden Ring would be number one because it mixes digital and it mixes physical, and it's a cross-platform title. So I would have assumed when we went over to PlayStation's individual ranking, we would go, oh, okay, then that makes sense that it's doing better. But if you actually go look at what PlayStation put out, which is all digital, so they must have sold great Horizon on as hardware or software copies, like retail. Because if you go over to look at the PS5 games, these are in America, they're top 10 downloads for February, which was a brutal bloodbath of a month. It Takes Two was 10, which is nice to see. Call of Duty Vanguard, 9. 8, Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales. Number 7 is Mario Kart 8. Even though we know it doesn't play on PlayStation, that game will sell on any and everything. If you have an Apple Watch, it'll play Mario Kart 8. It'll keep selling. You have a Peloton bike, you can play Mario Kart 8 on it. That's a lie. Number 7 is Madden NFL 22. Number 6 is NBA 2k22. Now, here we go. 5, Cyberpunk rejoins the gang because the patch is great. The game is great now. I love it. Number 4, whatever you think of Horizon, whatever you think of Elden, whatever you think of all the big titles, it's pretty, and I haven't even played this because I think it's too hard for me, but number 4 is Sifu. That's pretty fucking good. That's pretty fucking good to see a title that it's that niche and weird and quirky and independent as number 4. That's sold over 1 million copies already across all platforms. Number 3 is Dying Light. Now, this is Sony's, right? This is weird. You would expect 1 and 2 to be reversed based on what the NPD says. But number 2, Sony says Horizon Forbidden West was number 2. And number 1, according to Sony in Europe and America, was Elden Ring, which means that if NPD gets it right and it was the number 1 selling game for PlayStation, then they must have done gangbusters with their retail copy, with their box copy, because it had to make up the difference, given that they clearly were number 1 digital was Elden Ring. So it's interesting. Brian E says Sifu rewards practice, and I love that about the game. You're right. I could end up seeing myself playing it and liking it at the right time, but right now I've already got my hands full with very difficult games because I'm trying to get through Elden Ring. Okay. Horizon Zero Dawn ain't generic, says Jimmy of Rivia. Forbidden West looks like they turned it generic and put presentation over the core dynamics. Again, what I've played of it, and I will play more of it, it's no doubt it is a wonderfully produced game. It looks, I don't know if I agree that it's the best looking game. I think Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart is probably a little better looking, but it's stunning. And I am not even playing it on an HDR monitor, so I imagine when that comes and I play it on that, I'll be like, holy fuck, it's amazing. But for me, it feels kind of mushy and dead as a franchise. It's very Killzone-y to me. It's very Infamous to me. It's not. It feels like at the creation level, not the execution level, but at the writing level, the design level, it just kind of, or the directing level, it just kind of feels like they weren't firing on all cylinders. That's my take. We'll see. But yeah, they sold over 20 million copies of it, the first one. So I'm sure the second one will do great, but I'll be curious how it does. Josh Douglas laughs. He says, Cyberpunk, LMAO. I don't know what you're laughing at. It's a fucking great fucking game. It's not what a lot of people expected it to be. It's not some big open world, anything you do, anything you want to do, you can do and live in this world. It's not Elden Ring with Cyberpunk. It's not The Witcher with Cyberpunk. But it's a really good fucking game. I can't wait for the Ghost of Tsushima side-scroller game, says John O. What's it called? Road to Yuma or something? Or sure, if you write that again, I will get to your question. You spamming the question, all that does is annoy the fuck out of me. Just letting you know. I can't wait for the Ghost of Tsushima. So I saw today that that's coming day one Game Pass, by the way. I know that they put it on PlayStation Showcase the other day. Trek to Yomi is what it's called. There you go, truth teller. Thank you. Yeah, they announced today that it's day one Game Pass. So it's generic, says Zaf, because the typical open world. He's talking about Horizon again. Lots of markers and meaningless side content, though the side mission stories are more fleshed out and entertaining than Zero Dawn. Cool. And again, I have very much an open mind on this. I mean, I know I'm telling you I don't like it right now, but if I play it, I played enough so far that I saw like the chief of the village, and I saw the guy who wanted to help her, and kind of the arrogant guy that she meets at the bottom of the elevator when she descends into the valley, and I just felt it was all very, rote. But that's me. That's me. Okay. What is happening with Square? I mean, Square Enix is absolutely out of their goddamn cockadoodie minds. That's what I got to tell you. That's what I got to tell you. I'll get back to why they are. Uncle Filthy says, Jaffe, to be clear, in Forbidden West, that's the new one, right? Did you actually get to the meeting outside the city where they opened the gate? I got down to the place where the gate is, and I have not gone inside yet because I've been enjoying racing around the environment, and just not racing, but running around the environment and exploring. I'm not a Horizon hater, blah blah blah. I'm just being honest. It's not for me. But that the first one sold 20 million. My last game couldn't make its $12 million budget back. It's just an opinion. I bought Elden Ring, Horizon, and GT7, says Peter. They all have taken a backseat to Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk, for me, Peter, has taken a backseat to Elden, but not just because Elden is so rich and full and all-encompassing that it's hard to play both. And but I mean, I think they're both wonderful. And Elden right now is my number one game, probably of all time, certainly of the year. Cyberpunk's in that top 5 easily. And now I'm playing the wrestling game that just came out, which is that's an easy game to go back and forth between Elden Ring. Jarvie says, my ADD has given up on Elden Ring. It's fun, but I got bored because I wasn't making progress. I'm now wanting to play Strangers of Paradise. I wonder why some people don't make progress. That may be, like I said, the onboarding is good or better than Bloodborne, but it is still a little problematic. I mean, when people tell me, they're like, Jaffe, we're surprised you beat the tree sentinel or whatever, the first dude on a horseback, and I'm like, well, I didn't beat him at first, and then I went off and I leveled up and I found items and I explored and I did this, and a day later I came back and I beat him. But same with Margit. But there's so many things that you can do when it's hard, that's probably why my ADD enjoys it, because I know that there are those trapezes I can jump to in order to go swing somewhere else, or vines I can jump to swing somewhere else to entertain me. But yeah, I don't know. After Elden, says Zaf, I can't bring myself to finish Forbidden West. So hard to go back to it. Sector says, Elden asked a lot of you. Most gamers in the past 20 years were spoon-fed how to play the game to reach the end. I think there's a lot of truth to that. Okay. I'm really sad they delayed Dead Space remake to 2023. We are going to talk, Ashur, about Dead Space in just a little bit. I don't know if you watched that with us this morning, but we will get into it. Let's get back to Square, though. So Square has been doing... Somebody at Square sold somebody at Square the bullshit line that, the best thing we can do is turn ourselves into a games as a service company. And it works for a lot of companies. It's not working for Square. It didn't work with Avengers. It certainly didn't work with Babylon Falls. Now they come out with the Chocobo GP, which is a cute, cartoony kart racing game with the Final Fantasy characters. Not all of them, of course, but I think it's primarily focused on 7. Maybe it's all of them. I don't know. And again, this is just weird. It's like, who is making their decisions over there? Who is making decisions over there that is steering this ship? Apparently, this racing game, it costs $60. You can get a free version, I think, on the Switch, but it costs $60 or $40 if you want to buy it. $50. There you go. It's full price $50 kart racer. I think it's on multiple platforms. There's a free, quote, light version available on the Switch. The gameplay's fine, people say. It's like a generic kart racer with characters, in love, if you're into that stuff. But they're saying it is so, like, for a $50 product, they immediately hit you up for season passes. They immediately hit you up for loot boxes and random shit and carts and outfits. and multiple currencies. People are saying it feels like a phone game, like a mobile game that was free. Why in the fuck are they charging $50 for this? So I just don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what's happening over there. Like, are they sitting around going, "We're doing good, fellas. Let's keep making these decisions"? I don't understand it. Yeah, Uncle Filthy says, "God, I hope it has NFTs too." Yeah, for sure. It's very strange. It's very, very strange. So anyway, I wasn't going to play it anyway, but I am just surprised that this is just, and then they said Guardians of the Galaxy underperformed. We'll see what Forspoken does. I'm not chomping at the bit after what I've seen of it, but, I'm going to give it a shot. Jojo G says, "I hope somebody talks about Ghostwire Tokyo. It has to be a future gabbing and game streaming." So I know they put out a 20-minute, give or take, gameplay video yesterday. And that has been my complaint about that for a long time, which is I still don't know what the game is. I watched the entire showcase, but I don't know what this game is. So unfortunately for me, I have not been able to watch it yet, and so I can't really talk about it. But if anyone has seen it, has it excited you more, or has it made you kind of walk away and say, this is not for me. This is not for me. Truth Teller says Square Enix's performance is looking bad since Outriders, which I thought was pretty good, actually. I think it's a very underrated game. I enjoyed Outriders. But yeah, I mean, it's weird what's happening over there. Okay, so just heads up, we will be watching this live. If you're interested, Xbox has an indie showcase coming up next week. It doesn't sound too sexy. It'll be March 16th at 10 a.m. It says that we'll be featuring, this is Xbox talking, we'll be featuring new updates, trailers, gameplay from Finji, the Tunic developer, and the Lake developer, as well as the first game from IM8bit's brand new publishing label. Fans will also get a chance to see the latest and hear from teams working on Shredders, Roblox, and some new games. Okay, fine. I mean, I love indie games, but indie games tend to not show well for the most part. It's about playing them, and then you're like, oh my god, right? I mean, you see Unpacking as a trailer, you're not going to run out and go, I have to have this game. But there is a rumor, and God, I hope it's true, as a fan of Xbox, I hope it's true, that there are 2 shows coming this year, one in May and one in September, that are proper Xbox showcases. It's a rumor, though. I don't know if it's true. The guy who's reporting it apparently has a pretty good track record. But I tell you what, they fucking better. They fucking better talk about some new shit they got coming, because otherwise, what the fuck are they doing? And we've talked about this before. The one that's coming up in May is interesting because it came out today that E3 is actually going forward. But it's going to be all digital. I don't even remember last year's E3. I know last year's E3 was all digital, and I'm sure I streamed some stuff, and I'm sure I watched some stuff, but I don't fucking remember a goddamn thing about that show. Like, whether keynotes or anything, I don't know what it was. So E3, though, is going ahead, and Microsoft has this thing in May. So maybe that's their E3 conference, because they haven't announced anything else. Is it going to be E3 in May? Is it going to be E3 in June? I have no idea. But, and I've seen people online lamenting the death of E3. But, I mean, E3 died a long time ago. E3 is absolutely a dead show, and it should be. It doesn't serve any purpose anymore. I think there still needs to be a PAX-like show, a fan base show. I think that's important, but I don't think E3 is it. It's hard to generate hype with nothing to show, says Brian. Hopefully they get something substantial to present. Well, yeah, but you have to assume they have that. You have to assume, you're talking about Xbox. You have to assume that Xbox has plans for this year other than what they've already announced. And Stalker, which really was not setting the roof on fire anyway in terms of hype and excitement for most people, is delayed, understandably, obviously, expectedly, correctly, because of what's happening in Ukraine. Zero says consoles and games have been selling like hotcakes without E3 for years now. Clearly, it isn't necessary anymore. It's only necessary if your frame of reference is a world in which hotcakes sell really well. I've never understood that saying, but I understand what you mean. I heard devs lament E3 because that's where they get to meet and greet other devs and studio heads. Deals are made. Yeah, but that does tend to happen more at GDC. And, the last game, and again, we didn't get it picked up, so maybe it says something, but my agent, we were prepping to launch Drawn to Death. And so we did all of our pitching to game studios over networking. We were like Zooming before the pandemic, of course. We shut down well before the pandemic started. We were doing pitches and showing videos and taking questions and stuff to all the big publishers. The weirdest one we did, I'll tell you real quick. The weirdest one we did was Annapurna. And it was such a fucking weird meeting. And I know some of those people, and I like some of those people. I'll get to those super chats, by the way. I know one came through. I'm sorry, it's been a second. But, so they were our very first meeting. Nick Conellis and I are sitting there in the conference room, and we turn on the screen, and there's the cast of Annapurna. And they're sitting on these steps, this kind of shag carpet green steps. And they're all kind of splayed out, all like, their legs are all kicked out and they're leaning back. I mean, it was totally like an album cover for a boy band, except there was like 12 of them, 10 of them. And it absolutely, I'm pretty fucking good at pitching, and I'm pretty good at, getting my footing if I slip a little bit, usually. But that really threw me for a loop, because I was just like, what the fuck is going on here? Are we interrupting somebody's, basement party in their parents' house? It made no fucking sense. And the thing we were pitching was a very expensive co-op action-adventure commercial game. Why in the fucking world we pitched it to Annapurna, I don't know. But when I asked my agent, he said, well, I wanted to give you guys somebody we knew that, it's not that they didn't matter. Annapurna is one of the great publishers out there today. But they didn't matter in the sense that if they said no, my agent expected them to say no. So it was more like a warm-up. So I get it in retrospect, but it was a very strange a pitch meeting for sure. Okay, let me get the super chat that came in. Then let me, Brett Williams, thank you, buddy. He says, cheers, Papa Jaffe. Cheers, good sir. We've got someone in chat claiming that an open world with no markers and minimal direction ruins the experience. Are you serious? I mean, well, it's okay. I mean, this is kind of the topic of the week for a lot of people. And I did a video on it regarding Elden Ring and comparing it to other maps and whatnot in other games like Ubisoft games. I mean, your mileage will absolutely vary, as it should. Like somebody said earlier, gamers have had 20 years of video games telling them exactly where to go, exactly what to do. It almost felt like a breath of fresh air when you played Ubisoft's Black Flag. And it was the first time I noticed that when they told you, I think they were the sea shanties or whatever, but when they told you on the map where something was, it was in that area. It was roughly in that area. So you still had a little bit of exploration, which was nice. So I don't agree with whoever that is, Brett Williams in chat, that says it ruins the experience. I think if you've come up or if you enjoy video games that have that degree of, it's an open world, but we're going to guide you and we got your back. We're going to kind of, give you very wide. It's like Autotopia at Disneyland. Yeah, you're driving the car. You're not on a track, but you're on a track, but you got some freedom. That's what those feel like to me. I don't happen to like those to me, for me personally, but I get a lot of people do, but I certainly fucking don't. I find them, especially compared to Elden Ring, which feels so deliciously, delightfully immersive. I don't want to go back to games like that now because I'm spoiled by a game like Elden Ring that makes me feel like I'm living in the game. Brian E says there are markers. The map art in Elden gives you a clue. Well, yeah, but it's still very different. Other than the markers that are the grace points, which are the circles that point you in the direction if you want to follow the linear path or just tell you how to fast travel. Other than that, and there are a lot of those, the markers on the map that you're talking about are wonderfully immersive because they don't look like anything. They look like random scribbles on most maps. And when you learn that when you push your camera in and you actually see the map and you say, holy cow, every one of these little scribbles isn't a scribble. It's like reading a real map. It's like, what is that? And it's very engaging and immersive. Hard Frog, see, that's where I don't agree. Hard Frog says if you turn off icons in other open world games, is it just Elden Ring except with choice? I mean, I think you build a game like Elden Ring, or you build a game like Horizon, or you build a game like Assassin's Creed from the ground up, knowing what you want the map to achieve at an abstract design level. So yes, you can do that. You can absolutely do that. But if you do, first off, I think it ends up it ends up making the player the designer, which I find really off-putting, versus letting the designer say, this is my vision for you, and this is how I want the game to make people feel. And whether you like it or not is up to you, but it feels more intentional. When it's kind of like, here's 1,000 options. I know everybody likes everything. You guys design the game you want. I mean, to me, it's the equivalent of going to a movie, and it's like ordering before you go. I don't like car chases. Okay, we'll take that out. And what else? What else are you into? I do like sex scenes, but I only like sex scenes if they're biracial couples. Okay, we don't have that. But we do have a song by a black guy and a white guy. Is that on the soundtrack? Okay, I'll take that. I mean, it ceases to be a vision, and it ceases to be art, and it just becomes ordering, a buffet in Vegas. I don't think it works as well. But I mean, but that is an option. Somebody was asking, should I buy an Xbox or a PC for gaming? If you can afford a PC, get a PC. I have to assume, you can already play PS Now, which will be Stadia games on PC. Not day one drops, but that service is clearly getting better. You can play all the Game Pass stuff on PC, and PC gives you so many more options, and so many more variety of stuff to play. So I would go with the PC if you can afford it, and it can be one that's a good one that'll last you at least 5 or 6 years. Truth Teller has a good point. With the State of Play shown Wednesday, that format is dead also. Everything will follow on how Xbox will do shows in the future. I don't know. I agree with everything you've written, but I don't know. Your last sentence doesn't make sense to me. Everything will follow on how Xbox will do shows in the future. I mean, I don't think Xbox has cracked it either. I think you have to almost make a list of what is the purpose of this, right? Is it that we know gamers are very online creatures and they need a community, and we as a company would benefit if we foster that and help them celebrate and get excited about it and all that? That's a goal. Is it literally we just want to sell this product? In that case, yeah, anything that's more than one game really doesn't matter, right? I mean, Kirby is coming out, I think, next week, or is it today? It's coming out this month, in the next couple days. I'm fine just watching Kirby as a demo on YouTube and then downloading the demo, right? So I don't even know if you need the block of games. I think we are going to transition to online-specific, online-centric conventions for the vast majority of these geek experiences. And then I think that could be really exciting. But right now, yeah, if it's very, look, it's very much like this stream, right? Which is, I put together a series of topics. There's no guarantee. The only guarantee is that no one person is going to like every topic, which is why I also break them up and say, here are the highlights. If you like talking about Elden Ring, that's cut out, or the timestamps or whatever. It's kind of the same thing with State of Play or Nintendo Directs or whatever. It's like you tune in and you want to be excited, and every single one you go in with the best of intentions or the best hope for that company and the most hype for that company. Most people are inevitably disappointed because you're not going to like everything they serve, right? And so I don't know what the video version is, other than just focusing on one title at a time. Maybe it's time we got to go back to web pages. Remember that, when everything had a web page? Now everything's just on the company's YouTube channel. But it may be as they individually target, that becomes a lot more important. We got, where'd he go? Johnny of Rivera, our good friend, has been a member for 17 months. Good Lord, good sir. Thank you for that generosity and support. He's quoting Phil Spencer, the man with the new idea is a crank until the idea succeeds. Unfortunately, that's a lot of human nature. I hate that about people. I hate that we don't seem to have, en masse, an evolutionary experience where we can go, oh, remember how we hate change? Remember that? And take that awareness of how while we hate change, we still ultimately 95% of the time adjust to the change, and then we love the thing that we hated. We do that time and time and time and time again. And it seems like we're just not able to do that or to carry that awareness of how we behave in the face of change. And so we just keep going back to I hate change, which is stupid. Stingray says there are showcases and state of plays. They are different. I don't know the difference. I mean, unless you're just talking about PlayStation Showcase focuses on one game. Sure. Okay. Great. But I will say though that even that, I mean, I think I would have to spend some time, and I will over the weekend, and we'll talk about it later next week, because I am curious. What is it for at this point? E3. I'm talking just from a fan standpoint. E3, we know what it was for with the buyers and journalists and all that. It made sense practically, and the fans got to be the beneficiary of it. But it wasn't primarily for the fans. It was primarily for, Target and Walmart buyers to see what they wanted to order for Christmas. So the real question is, if you are going to try to build a fan experience around a video game company, and I don't even think, the Game Awards do it that well, because most of what they show at the Game Awards is They'll get a couple of big things, but the big reveals now are saved. Do you think Sony was gonna just plug in the God of War release date and a state of play? Of course not. That's going to be its own video. That's going to be its own feature. It's not. I mean, it's just. I don't know how you give the audience what they want. All I know is so far, whenever you give them what they've been giving them, people seem to be disappointed. They are having E3 this year, but it's not live. It's virtual CR3D. The thing that game development is taking longer and is more expensive, everything will be reduced for one big event per year. E3 will be revived. Games. I don't know about that, because it's expensive to go to E3. It costs, hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not more. And it takes a ding off the production cycle to go to E3. I don't know why any company would go to E3 at this point. What do you think about PS releasing what's GW over on PC? GW? I don't know what GW is, man. What do I think about? I don't know what that is. Nomad says, will this be the last generation for physical game distribution? I hate having to change disc now. I can't tell you that. Oh, God of War. I can't tell you that, but I can tell you that it's on the way out, of course. It's the new generation doesn't give a fuck about owning those games. They don't give a fuck. You can see it in Roblox. You can see it in Fortnite. You can see it in Among Us. You can see it in all of that shit. I wasn't disappointed with the state of play. I like that one Square game, the last game they showed, the 2.5D Samurai game. Yeah, I wasn't disappointed in it. It wasn't bad. It was just, it wasn't like, remember that E3 from 2014 or something where it was just like banger after banger after banger after banger? I mean, that's where the bar is. And you can't do that anymore. The cadence of releases is just is too fucking different. Okay. I want to go back to this. I just want to talk about a tweet real quick. We'll move on from E3. But yeah, E3 is happening this year, but it's going to be digital. Josh Douglas says most people buy games digital. Well, PC and Xbox, yes. It looks like it's a bit closer to like 60-40 with 60 digital and 40 physical on PlayStation. But God of War, you were asking about God of War. Let me see. What did you say? You forgot the O. What were you asking me about God of War? Hang on, fellas. I'm sorry. It went somewhere now. I can't find the cockadoodie thing. I don't know. Ask your question again. If I find it, I'll answer it. But I don't know. I don't know where it went. I'm sorry about that. Okay. Jaffe is hit with the Roblox players. Well, the Roblox players are my kids. We were watching, we were having TV night the other night, and my ex is over, and she's like, where are the kids? I'm like, I don't know, let me go check. So I went into my son's room, and he's like, okay, give me 10 minutes. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm playing Roblox. What are you playing? It's me and my friend and some other guy who are playing a game where we try to get to the top of Mount Everest without slipping and dying. I mean, that's what they're playing. If I went to him and said, oh, would you like me to buy you a copy of Roblox? He'd be like, what are you talking about, right? State of Play rarely has anything huge. Go and look. It's the showcases that are like how their PS3 or E3 used to be. I suppose, but, you know. Yeah, Bacon Magma says, I mean, I'm not dismissing your comment. I'm saying I suppose because there haven't been many showcases either that I've been like, whoa. You know, I watched GHOSTWIRE Tokyo and said, okay, I'll you know, maybe that's just me. Maybe I don't, it takes a lot to get me hyped other than just sitting down and playing the game. Bacon Magnus says, Jaffe, people said a decade ago consoles will be dead around this time. Now people like you have to push the goal back to another decade. What are your thoughts on this? My thoughts are that it's hard to predict the future. But here's what I'll tell you. The path ahead is clear, Bacon Magna. Consoles have not... So what I would say to that is you would have a point if consoles were still hanging on and digital wasn't rising. I think what people like myself and others who predicted the demise of the physical console before now saw coming was the adoption rate being faster. And it is accelerating to the point that the majority of people buy digital now, which was not the case 10 years ago. But I think a lot of us felt that between that and broadband infrastructure, we would be a little bit further down the road and it would create that scenario. But I think it's also generational. That I did not take into account. Like I said, kids today, they don't come up owning physical copies of games. They don't even think about it. The idea of digital only is on the way, though. It's happening. It's going to take a little bit longer. The path ahead is clear. Xbox is the future of gaming. Phil series, really? That's what you're doing on your Friday night? I don't mind if you want to talk, but it's not even good trolling. It's just not, man. You should work harder. You're just doing the thing people do. You come in, we get it. Oh no, you're Phil Spencer, and you're going to come in and you're going to troll. What are we, 5? What do I care? What do I care? Brian King, I will quote Phil Spencer back to you. Brian King says, cloud and streaming has no market, no demand. It's you don't like it. I respect that. I appreciate that. But you're just not right. You're letting your own biases get in the way. I've said this many times before. History repeats. And history, when it comes to how people consume, unless you're talking about very high-end products like Ferraris and Burberry trench coats and shit, people go with easiest and least expensive. You think there was demand for streaming movies? No. The only thing people thought about streaming movies was, is that what they do when I go to a hotel and I say I want to order a movie off the TV? Nobody was thinking about streaming movies, except people who, you know, were in the know and were in the tech world and in the entertainment world. They were thinking about it. And suddenly it's changed the game. So the idea that there's no demand for it, there is always a demand for convenience and low price. Always. If you don't know that, that's okay. You're not supposed to know that. It's not your job to know that. Am I right, Calvin?
Yeah. What time? Do you know what time you're going to start streaming?
7-ish? Why? What's up?
Oh, because I was going to ask if we can give Atlas a ride.
If you can what?
If we can give Atlas a
Yeah,
ride.
we'll give him a ride. Yeah, if he can wait that long.
At 7? What time is it now?
I don't know. 7. It's 6:30. No, it's like 7:30, 7:45. All right. Breaking news: I'll be giving Calvin's friend a ride home tonight. They were just hanging out. There's some point when you have children where it goes from being a play date to them just hanging out. So you kind of have to know when that is. Otherwise, you make them sound like idiots. Brian King says, I'm not going to get into it with you, man. Cloud has repeatedly failed. The evidence is there. The services are there. Nobody wants them. Netflix is now failed. I don't agree with you, Brian King. I appreciate you and for many reasons. But I just think you are absolutely incredibly wrong. I stream Game Pass games to try them out before I install them, says NBM. Yeah, me too. I mean, again, all I can tell you about it is, you know, when you have the right internet or you're close enough to the right server, and eventually the vast majority of people will be, your experience changes. I literally bought WWE 2K the other day. I bought it early, so I can't believe I spent $100 on a video game, but there we are. And I've just upped my internet speed. I added another $10, $12 a month to my cable bill or whatever, my internet bill, because I wanted faster internet because of the stream. And I'd forgotten that it'll also help me download faster. I fucking downloaded that motherfucking cockadoodie game literally I got the entire probably about 4 minutes. 4 fucking minutes? Think about that. It's crazy. Console gaming is going to the way of PC, all digital, which PC has been at. Well, we know that, Zaf. I think the real challenge for Sony and Xbox and Nintendo to go all digital and go all in is that they still depend on stores to sell their hardware, right? And so it's easy for Best Buy and GameStop and whatever to say, well, okay, if you're going all digital, that's fine, but you ain't selling your shit here. Not that GameStop's going to be around next generation, but that's always been the thing in the past that's been like, well, we don't want to do that just yet. But I 100% agree though that that's where it is going, and then ultimately it's going no consoles. Jaffe, there's always a demand for value and convenience, but there's also a demand for production value, which is why I like Sony. Yeah, but those things are not necessarily what's the word? They don't cancel each other out. Sony's going to be right there. I downloaded Horizon Forbidden West, which by all accounts, or many accounts, the best looking game ever. That is a game that did not skip on production value. But just because I bought it digitally doesn't make a difference. Superpower Man says, has there been a poll taken which shows the market wants streaming for games? I don't know. But who cares? Was there a poll taken that asked if people want streaming for Netflix? Netflix, remember, used to come in the mail. Before that, they were the crazy idea because everybody went to Blockbuster on a Friday night. This idea that just, I mean, I got, you know, I doesn't mean I'm going to be right about everything or anything. But the only thing I can tell you that I am right about is just knowing that there's value in looking at the history of how consumers make decisions. Now, I may read those, the motivation behind those decisions incorrectly. That's not my ballywick. But what I will say, though, is that if your argument against anything, but let's just take streaming, is, well, people don't want it. They haven't shown up for it. Well, why? It kind of goes back to being afraid of technology. Doesn't it convince you that time after time after time after time, people are introduced to new technology and new ways of doing things that either until it arrives, they don't want it, or until it makes the most sense for them and they can, it trumps what they already have, then they want it? I mean, that's what happens. That's what happens. Look, I can tell you what, Brian King, I don't know how old you are. I'm 50. You're probably older than 20. You're probably older than my kids and their friends. Definitely older than my nieces and nephews in Alabama. None of them are sitting around worrying about streaming. If I told them Fortnite, which they used to be addicted to, was streaming, or if I told them, hell, some of the games they play are streaming, but they don't even know it. They go, I don't even know what that is. I don't even know what it is. It's not Stingray. It's not. It's not a different ball game than streaming movies and shows. It's just not. You can't defend that argument. What I think you're going to tell me is you're going to talk about latency. You're going to talk about physics. You're going to talk about it's impossible to get zero latency. Guess what? You don't have zero latency now, right? I've played streaming on my consumer level internet close enough to a server that I've forgotten within a minute that I'm streaming. That's how good it can be. And I'm not talking about on a trade show floor. I'm talking about here in my home in San Diego. So to act like it's a different thing. No, it's not. No, it is absolutely not a different thing. It's a different thing in that we're going to need faster internet and closer proximity. Sure. But, those things are happening. The new generation says Jaffe is used to streaming as the norm from Netflix to Spotify. Yep. They don't care about owning physical media. Yep. Or even buying it. Yep. Plenty of adults don't either. Superpower says, well, it might eventually become a thing. When might the bigger question? The failure of Stadia show. No, that is, I disagree. I really didn't want to get into this because we have a lot to talk about, but let me close this out. And if anybody has a really important thing, I'll wait and let the chat say it and I'll talk about it and we'll move on. But I got to disagree with you there, sir. The idea that Stadia proves the market's not ready. Stadia shat the bed. Stadia performed great for a lot of people. Stadia shat all over the goddamn cockadoodie bed because they had no exclusives. There was no reason to play. The only reason I own a game on Stadia, which is Cyberpunk, is because it was the only place I could play it without all the horrible crashes. So I'm like, okay, well, there's a reason to buy a Stadia game. But short of that, they don't have anything over there. It's all crap. It's either crap or brilliant stuff that I've played years ago somewhere else. To say that Stadia's failure is a result of the customer saying we don't like streaming, I'm sorry, the customer may ultimately not like streaming. I don't think that's going to be the case. I don't think they're going to think about it. But you can't say that Stadia is the test bed for saying they don't like streaming. Test bed is the test case, which has been proven time and again that if a hardware exclusive doesn't, or a hardware game console or game system doesn't have exclusives or anything compelling, no one gives a fuck. Let me get these super chats. Brett Williams, thank you, buddy. He says, I think the major hurdle with submodels with gaming is how do we get top tier games at the price we currently see from Game Pass? Prices will go up. Yeah, they probably will. Netflix is coming. Everything's going to go up. That's life. I mean, video game prices go up. Prices will absolutely go up. But they're not going to go up to the point that that they cause the model to collapse on itself. If they do, then the model's stupid. But, Brett says, I'm talking about sub numbers before profitability. Yeah, I mean, look, I believe in it. I think it's cool. I appreciate some of you guys don't. I believed in digital ages ago. People made fun of me. People said it's stupid. I want to own my shit. I get it. I respect that you want to own your shit. Hell, like I said the other day, Rocker Matt sent me 3 games in the mail. All the Dark Souls games. I've never played them before. I didn't need him to do it, but I appreciated that he did it, right? It's cool to have physical stuff. I get it. It's cool to put it back on the goddamn shelf. I get it. But that's minor compared to, oh, look, it feels free and it's fast and it's instant. Okay, let's move on. I understand cloud is not the same as Game Pass. There are two different things. One is a subscription model and one is streaming. And they're both part of Game Pass, but you don't have to do the streaming. Okay. This was a tweet that went out today. I just want to bring this up briefly. This is a tweet from, I think he works at, he's a senior international brand manager for Anno Ubisoft Mains. I don't know what the fuck that is, but it has Ubisoft in it, so let's assume he's a Ubisoft guy. Marcel Hatam is his name. Let me show you his tweet. Here's what he says. Jokes like this are a big reason why many industry people don't want to use social media. The idea that you are not allowed an opinion because of your employer job, having to fear that your personal opinion will be spun into a clickbait headline. It sucks. And what he's talking about is this guy, Mr. Matty Plays, who's a relatively, I think he's kind of a big deal over on YouTube. I follow him. He follows me over here on the Twitter. He was tweeting out the Ubisoft, Ubisoft complaining that the user interface in Elden Ring is bad. And then he's like, oh, by the way, here's Ubisoft. And Ubisoft's maps, as we all know, is, you can't be at Ubisoft and try to deny it. Your game's as great as a lot of people say they are, and I understand Valhalla sold better than any Assassin's Creed, your second best-selling game of all time. I'm not saying it's bad. But let's not kid ourselves. You make games that are, grocery lists. Do this, do this, do this. If you forgot what to do, open a map. And that's great. People love that. I don't, but a lot of people love it. Millions upon millions upon millions of people love it. But don't act like Elden Ring did it wrong and you did it right. Your game is entirely different. Elden Ring isn't trying to do what you guys do. But anyway, regardless, that was the Matty Plays tweet. And then this guy, Marcel, is like going, it sucks. And I'm like, that this is why many industry people don't want to use social media. I'm like, dude, it's a public platform. If the guy wanted to have a genuine conversation with his colleagues, then do it over, DMs, or do it over email, or have a Zoom meeting. I'm not going to tell you who I talked with the other night, who said, hey, Jaffe, let's just catch up and talk. One of the biggest figures in the industry called me. We had a Zoom. Wasn't for public consumption. I'm not going to talk about it or stream it or anything, but it was just like, oh, we're just talking as colleagues, as pals. It was great. Great conversation. But do that. But you're going to be a guy at Ubisoft, and you're going to put Ubisoft in your bio, even though these views don't reflect Ubisoft. Yeah, but you want people to know you work at Ubisoft, because if you didn't care or you didn't want them to know, you wouldn't put that in your goddamn bio. Okay, so you've gone out of your way to let us know where you work, what you do, and then you post on a public platform, and then these, not the guy who did the original one, but this guy who works in the industry has the gall to act like shame on the people who actually responded to his point of view that he put out there. I put out a lot of stuff that people don't like. I get it. I tweet a lot, and a lot of times people are like, that's horrible, Jaffe, you're an idiot. But I'm not enough of an idiot that I go, whoa, why are you responding in a mean way? It's because not everybody's going to agree with you. I don't understand it. Yeah, Magic Circle says, Ubisoft, stop preaching about other games and worry about the coming Ghost Recon. Okay. I'm going to bring in, I was going to bring in Bacon Magma, but oh well, come back in if you want to talk. Don't get mad, Jaffe, but do you find, I'm not going to get mad. I don't ever get really mad. I'm just having fun. I'm passionate. Allow me to be passionate, sir. Don't get mad, Jaffe. This is Jacob. But you find it a bit hypocritical that you are telling people that they shouldn't post stuff on Twitter when you posted what you did in your past. I didn't say they shouldn't post stuff on Twitter. I'm commenting that this guy, Marcel Hatam, is saying, this is why industry people don't like to post on Twitter, because you guys take something and you turn it into a headline. I'm like, yeah, because it's public. I'm not saying don't post on Twitter. I'm saying don't post on Twitter and then complain about how people respond to people posting on Twitter. That's all I'm fucking saying. Okay, let me see. His opinion didn't read like an opinion, says Jarvie, but instead it read like they were jealous of Elden Ring's success. Yeah, and even if they were, that's fine. It's fine to say, hey, I'm jealous of their success. I think that's fine. I think we've gotten past a point where it's like, I think not all, but a very large percentage of the people that always come at, that's not professional. That's not good. That's somebody who wants to get in the business. It's like, you know what? Fuck off. The world has rapidly changed. The world is falling apart at the moment. I think we'll be okay. But because of the internet and because of social media and because the fire hose of opinions that used to 98% of the time stay in someone's head, where I don't know if they belonged there, but that's how we built society up until that point. That's how we built the human race up until that point. Not the race, but the experience of being human. You know what I'm saying? Not the I'm tired. It's Friday. Fuck off. And suddenly this thing comes along, and it's the closest we've ever had to being able to read someone's mind. You just go to Twitter, you type something in, it goes out. You barely think about it anymore. So, you know, people are, you know, if you're going to live in that world, live in the world, but don't, you know, it's like, I don't know. It's like having, oh, I got nothing. I got stuff. I'm not going to say it. Jaffe should make an independent game and own the IP. I don't want to, but thank you though. He's also part of Colin's Xbox podcast. Who? This guy, Marcel Hatam? Or Mr. Matty Plays? Oh, Mr. Matty Plays is on the Defining Duke. Okay, right. Okay, yeah, I haven't listened to that because I'm you know, I'm not a big Xbox guy. I like my Xbox, but I don't follow it like that. To me, it seemed the original poster felt like his life of creating user interfaces was a lie. Well, he said that, and I think he was just being like, I don't think he literally is like, my life is a lie. He said that, but it was kind of tongue in cheek. We underestimate the extent to which social media is rotting people's brains, says Cathal. I don't know if it's rotting people's brains. I think that's a knee jerk. I think it is rewiring I know, we're going to talk about it in a minute. I know it's rewiring our brains. But, you know, that's evolution. I mean, if we have evolved into a species that is highly dependent and highly enriched and entertained in our lives, we at least think are better because of a certain technology, then hopefully we can evolve into a species that is able to, you know, do good things with that, right? That would be awesome. Oh my God, Mr. K says he was kidding when he said my life is a lie, right? But then you're saying people literally thought the sentence was serious. Really? I can't believe anybody thought that was serious. Some people like games that are hard and explain nothing. Some people like checklist games. Yeah, I'm not, again, this thing has sold gangbusters. I'm not, there's no right answer. The thing I hope designers take from Elden Ring is not go off and rip off Elden Ring. I hope what they take is maybe, just maybe, we have done a little bit too much regarding being so worried about hand-holding the player that it's come at the expense of some other great things in games, like the sense of immersion. That's all I'm saying. Driving cars rewired our brains. When you're driving, your brain treats your vehicle as an extension. Yeah, it's absolutely 100%. 100%. Okay. I want to talk about the sexism lawsuit real quick that's happening at Sony. So, yeah, I don't know where Rob is. Rob is very busy dealing with a lot of shit and fun stuff. But if anybody wants to be a mod that I know, that I trust, let me know. No, Bacon, I can't do it for you. You know, I can't do it for you, but I'll bring you in on the call. Okay. So there's this lawsuit happening at Sony. There's a woman who used to work, I think, at IT at Sony, and she's suing Sony PlayStation. She's alleging that they are has for a long time had a workplace culture that is hostile to women. And yeah, SM says webcams chat would be a great mod, right? So first, let me just say, well, let me tell you what she's saying. So she's filed this complaint. Sony met a deadline today or yesterday where they could respond to it, and then it's not going to get a hearing until a month from now. And I guess in that hearing, a group of judges or a single judge is going to hear it and go, okay, does this deserve to go forward? Or do they say no? This is, I think it's called summary judgment, but it's like, this is not going to clog up our courts. There's nothing here. So she says her name is Emma Maho or Majo. I'm just going to say Maho. She filed a gender discrimination suit against PlayStation last November. not just for what she says is her own wrongful termination after complaining about sexism, but on behalf of all women who have worked for the company. Sony says, well, I don't know, I'm not so sure about that. They say Mayho failed to identify a single policy, practice, or procedure at PlayStation that allegedly formed the basis of any widespread intentional discrimination or had a discriminatory impact on women. In response, Mayho's attorney yesterday, this is all from Totillo, filed statements from the 8 women. She got 8 women together who used to work at Sony and said, aha, fuck you, I have evidence to back it up. And demeaning comments, they're alleging unwelcome advances, a lack of attention paid to their work or ideas, and most frequently a sense that it was harder for women to be promoted in the company. One of the women cited a lack of women considered for senior roles. She described hearing comments about female candidates' family lives that weren't made about male candidates. Somebody said, I believe Sony is not equipped to appropriately handle the toxic environment. So Sony met the deadline to get the courts to drop the suit. We'll see what happens next month. I don't know. I haven't worked for or with Sony for 4 years, and I haven't worked as an employee of Sony for 10, 12 years. I don't know when it was. Been a while, like 12 years. But I know some of the people that are still there. I can tell you, at least if you want to compare it to Activision, Sony was always, HR was always up in people's business. PR was always up in people. It's a different thing, but it's not the kind of company where those things are out in the open. Like, no one's passing naked pictures, as far as I ever saw, around Sony parties, like at Activision. But I have heard some things, but it doesn't seem like it's chronic. Like, I heard of a very big shot at Sony who drank a lot, and there was a party, and he hit on a female employee, pretty high up as well. But his sort of handlers, I guess, knew that about him, and they immediately kind of rushed in and moved him away and took him up to his room and put him to bed. And it's like, okay, you've had enough, right? I mean, those things probably happen everywhere, and I'm not saying that's okay. It's shitty. It's terrible. But those are the kind of things that occur or occurred that I either experienced as a viewer, it never happened to me, or heard friends of mine tell me secondhand, thirdhand stories about. So, but it was never like Activision. It was never like Sony has always been. Again, these ladies who were suing would say, well, yeah, you're a straight, white, cisgendered male. Of course it was fine for you. And that's fair. I can't walk in their shoes. The heels are too high. So many people, says Zero, lump these cases together, and people are in for a rude awakening when they see the results of these cases aren't the same. Yeah, I mean, this could all be true. This could all be true. Okay. That's that story. I don't want to talk about that anymore. Let's talk about, oh my God, I got to tell you something. This is crazy. This is fucking crazy. So, this is a story by Vice, but this is so neat and telling and weird. It opens saying this by, oh God, it's by Patrick Klepek. I hate that guy, but still, it's a good story. So, credit where credit's due, but he's kind of a dick. At least he has been to me. It was a good time for Fred, this is Patrick writing, a video game developer, to look for a job. COVID-19 made video games more popular than ever. But then Fred goes on to say, what a cruel world we live in, that people are compelled to commodify something so pure and essential to the human experience as play. This was him giving an interview to Waypoint. This all made for an awkward moment when Fred, again, this is the article, interviewing for a high-level position in a new studio founded by a group of veteran game developers, was informed the developer was likely interested in incorporating blockchain into their game. Nothing about crypto was mentioned on the studio's website. Fred said he wouldn't have applied in the first place otherwise. Twice last year, Fred discovered a game studio and potential employer was interested in incorporating the blockchain into its games only during the interview process. This is Fred talking now. Fred says they waited until halfway through an hour phone interview to mention something controversial for people, referring to the blockchain. And he walked away. He walked away. It's just weird, man. It's just like, get it out of here. No one wants it. It is so dumb. You guys have had your chance to sell us this. And again, I support your right to try to make a buck as long as it's legal. And, if you really can create some compelling NFT, crypto, blockchain bullshit currency, then go ahead and do that. But so far, every cockadoodie goddamn thing that has been pitched to me about this stuff is just fucking stupid. This is Sharif. How you doing, pal? What's up?
Hey, what's going on, Jaffe?
How are you?
I'm great. I'm a big fan.
Thank you very much. That's nice of you to say. What's going on? What do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about, just one question. A lot of people think that most of the games that you play and you stream it, some of them are very boring for you, and based on that game, that boredom that you have, you rate them, and in a way that you say the game is boring and you shut it down, and then you say, oh, I don't like this game.
Okay.
But then you give your opinion based on what you didn't like, but it's kind of like you didn't play the game as much,
Give me an example.
BB says that, even, what's the other guy's name?
Bacon Magma?
A couple of guys. Yeah, he says
Bacon Magma and BB is the same goddamn person. But keep going, though.
Oh, okay. But I want to know, why do you give it a bad, view if you didn't play the game as much?
Can you offer me an example?
Well, Horizon Forbidden West, and
okay, so I didn't review Horizon Forbidden West. I mean, again, I'm not a professional reviewer anyway, but I don't go into Metacritic or any of that stuff. I just make videos and shit. But but what I said about that game was, people said, Jaffe, you've got to get to the open world before you really judge it. I said I hated the opening. I thought it was terrible.
Okay.
But I said, yes, I will stick with it. And I stuck with it. And now they're saying, well, now you have to get in the city. And when I get some time, I'll go back to it. I bought it. I might as well play a little bit more of it. And I said the stuff that I did like. I said that the graphics were fucking phenomenal. The combat is excellent. But I think the protagonist is boring. The story is rote. And it feels very been there, done that after about 5 hours of play for me. Now, if you think a game, this is where I will push back though. If you think a game doesn't owe it to you to get good until 5, 6, 8, 20 hours, then that, no offense, but that's a you problem. I refuse. I'm 50 years old. I only have so much time left on this planet. I refuse to have faith that some game is going to improve. If the game developer can't be bothered to entertain me and show me the goods in the first 20 minutes, let alone 2 hours, well, fuck off. I'm walking away, and you deserve a bad review. Don't you? I mean, don't you agree with that?
I agree completely, because I'm the same way. When I play a game, let's say any game, let's say God of War, and if I play for an hour for that, and then I can say, okay, you know what, I find it boring. I don't want to play it, so I throw it away.
That's exactly right.
Then later I go back to it and I play it more. I give it another shot, and then I like it.
Well, that's good. That's wonderful. I mean, there is and by the way, you're breaking up a little bit. I don't know if you can do anything to improve your the quality of your call, but I will say this though: there is absolute truth to the fact that any media, but video games seem to, at least for me, hit me harder than most. You know, ultimately, if you're not coming to it with the right mindset, and sometimes you're tired, or sometimes, you know, and I've learned my lesson. People are like, Jaffe, when are you going to stream more Elden Ring? And I will now that I'm comfortable with it. But I learned my lesson playing The Last of Us, which I ended up loving. Some games you really should not stream. at least at the beginning, because you're too busy trying to entertain and talk to the audience, and you can't immerse yourself in the quality of it. So,
yes, but Jaffe, you have a lot of people watching you. So as soon as you give it an opinion, these people are gonna take it as it is.
Okay,
they're
but
gonna
then
take your word for it.
Okay, but then
because
think
you're,
about
you're the guy.
Yeah, but then think about that. Think about the real problem there. You're not critical thinking skilled enough to make your own fucking decision?
But Jaffe, you're not just like a regular person streaming, some guy streaming.
Sure I am.
Everybody's following you. You're kind of like an idol to them. So if you say this game is no good or it's boring, you might influence them not to buy it or play it. You know, you're giving them
okay, but then let's talk about that. So on the games that I have come back to, I have always copped to that was my bad. Last of Us 2 was my bad. There was another one in the last year that I came back to and was like, oh, okay, I really fucking like this. Halo, right? Halo, the opening of Halo Infinite was terrible. I made a video going, this is dumb. And I loved the beta of Halo, and I made a video about that, about how much I love the beta. It wasn't until it became open world, which was in the nick of time because I was about to put it down, that it became one of my favorite games of last year. But, you know, in end of the day, though, I would, like I said, I would push back and I would say, that game developers have a bigger responsibility to entertain right out the gate. And I'm sorry, gamers have been sold a bill of goods, and you guys want to believe it, and don't ask me why. That, look, when we made God of War 1, and I'm not saying God of War 1 or 2 or 3 were the best games or even good games or bad games. Your mileage will vary, and I respect that. But we busted our fucking asses to make sure we opened that goddamn thing with something interesting happening, because we knew we only have one chance to get people hooked. So why are you guys so forgiving would be my question. Why the fuck would gamers be so forgiving? If your game is just for 4 hours, well, take it back, return it, bitch about it. That's not the way it's going to change. Why would you give gamers a pass on making something boring? What is that? It's like you're in an abusive relationship.
But Jeff, you have a catalog of games that you never touch, and you bought it probably for $70, and you never went back to it. But you spend that $70, and it's sitting there, but you never touch it anymore, and you pass on that game. But I mean, it's the same thing. People buy games, they want to try it, but they don't want to return it. So they're like, okay.
I don't know if I understand your point, though. Are you saying you're upset with me that I don't play every game to completion?
No. I'm just saying people buy games, they don't return it.
Yeah, because games suck.
Exactly, but I mean, they don't return it back. They can keep it. Don't return it.
Well, again, you're dropping out again. Look, I saw today. Now, look, Horizon just came out 2 weeks ago. But so this number will change. But right now, Horizon Forbidden West is sitting at a 13% completion rate, which is very fucking low. Look, make your game good enough. I mean, I have no patience for it, and neither should you. Make your fucking Call of Duty game good enough that people want to finish it. I'm tired of people coming at me like, Jaffe, how can you not finish Elden Ring? You said it's your favorite game of all time. Yeah, and if it gets boring, I move the fuck on. And people in the chat going, yeah, but you have ADD. Great. We have a different threshold of when we get bored, but I would assume if you don't have ADD, does that mean that you're okay dealing with boring shit, or does it just mean that your threshold is different? Ultimately...
But do you understand that most of the games, they hit you in the middle of the game. They don't hit you in the beginning.
And isn't that a problem? That's horrible.
It's like a movie.
No, it is not like a movie. You would know nothing of what you speak, good sir. It's not like a movie.
When you go to the theater,
let me tell you something. I used to write screenplays and try to get in the movie business, and I sold television shows. Trust me, I know what I'm talking about here. The number one rule they tell you is you've got to catch the audience in the first 10 minutes, the first 10 pages, because these executives, it's happening all over Hollywood tonight. They take home, these development people and these executives, they take home these screenplays, and they have a stack of them for weekend reading is what they call it. If those first, now it's really 5, but if those first 5 or 10 pages don't make you go, this is interesting, I want to know more, whether that's an action sequence, a concept, a really compelling character, a scenario they haven't seen much on the screen before, that is part of the job of being a professional screenwriter. If you don't hold video game developers to the same standard of going, you can wait till half the game before you start to really show me the goods, you deserve to fucking fail. You deserve to have people not play your game.
I agree because you're spending $70 and next thing you know you're disappointed. I mean, I understand that, but I mean,
and that's why that's one of the reasons I love things like streaming and subscription services. I know I'm not going to get into a big thing about it, but look, that if those do catch on the way I think they will, that will absolutely change the game. You already heard the developers of Forza the other day come out, who made Playground Games, Forza Horizon 5, and say, making a game on Game Pass, or 7, no, it's 5. Making a game on Game Pass is different. We have to build into the game design the idea that in the ecosystem of Game Pass, people have so many choices that it's not like before where you could sell them a $70 game and you knew you had them for at least 10 hours before they might start to peel off. They'll come and go as they please. And so they've put a lot of effort into Forza of checking how long has it been since he's been here, and let's give him his experience a little bit different than someone who just played yesterday, because we know we have to sort of massage his interest and bring him back into the fold. Same thing with opening. If you can get a game on a cloud stream or even a quick download and you play it for 5 minutes and it's boring, but you have 500 other games to go with, you're going to move on, and it's going to change design, and it should change design. And gamers in 10, 20 years will look back and say, can you believe they actually had Stockholm Syndrome to the point that they put up with shit and were willing to say a game gets good after 20 hours in? Go fuck yourself. Not you, but those people.
Yeah, I get it. Thank you for taking my call, Jaffe.
Anytime, buddy. Thank you for calling. I appreciate it, man. Call back anytime.
No problem.
All right, there he goes. Sector, what's up?
Hey, I just wanted to make a point on what you mentioned previously about the whole blockchain thing.
Yeah.
A lot of those companies, I just want to say, is the reason they're chasing the blockchain and the metaverse is it's the new buzzword in the finance industry. I kind of work in the finance industry. So they're just looking for the venture capitalist money. They're just looking for the investment money to get their gaming idea started. Sure. Tons of gamers out there. There's tons of gaming developers out there. You have mobile developers and developers for consoles, PCs, Steam, whatever, and they need to kind of differentiate themselves to get that VC money, to get the ball rolling. And I think that's part of the reason why they're chasing it. It's a fad. I don't think it's going to stay for long, because I think Gabe Newell's take on the metaverse was like my exact take. Like, haven't I done this before? I've been playing MMOs for like 15 years. How is that different from what a metaverse is? I have to put on a VR goggle headset. That seems
it's all dumb. It's all dumb. And I get it. But ultimately, that article from Klepek at Vice was talking about how, the chickens are starting to come home to roost, because you might have raised your money on the back of buzzwords from people who don't know any better. But if you can't hire the people to make it because they're onto your bullshit, it don't make a goddamn bit of difference. I mean, I have friends who have started companies that are invested in this, and I love these people, and so they have my support till the end of time, and I'll help them if they ever ask for help, if they think I can offer it. But I look from the sidelines and go, dude, what are you doing? It's like you never chase the fad. You never fucking chase the fad. You chase the quality. You chase that you have something you're compelled to give to the world that you think will be entertaining and commercial, and you move on with your fucking life. But this idea of I had somebody call me and say, do you want to come back into games? I said, not really. What do you got? And they said, oh, we're going to do NFT gaming. I'm like, yep, no, thank you. Because they can't articulate what makes it special. They've had chance after chance.
They're trying to chase a customer that doesn't exist. And once you have the final product, where's the money going to be in that, right? They all want to become these kind of, with the NFT situation, they all want to be a semi-quasi financial institution, taking a little bit off the top of every transaction.
Right.
And is there really a market for that? You know what I mean? Like, why do you need the blockchain for that? Right?
You don't. It's
marketplaces
stupid.
there.
No, it's stupid.
Like, why does that need to be a thing? If you can't develop
I got you.
How are you going to develop?
I got you
100%. Right?
All right, I got to let you go, Sector. Call back anytime. Thanks. I appreciate it, buddy. Thank you, sir.
Sure.
1 sec, you guys. What now? So, okay. Yeah, I agree with CR. You chase your vision. Those who chase fads age terribly. It's true. Right. Nubalax says the thing I never understood is you don't need blockchain for these ideas. No, and you don't need to call it the metaverse. This has existed since LucasArts did a game back in the day that was like a linked MMO, one of the very first ones, like a done with their Monkey Island interface. Crazy, fucking crazy. Let's talk about Dead Space real quick. In AAA, this is kind of the point of the stream, or at least the main story. But I want to ask you guys this, because maybe I'm in the wrong on this. Maybe I just don't know what I'm talking about. But we watched the Dead Space remake developer presentation today. We streamed it. If you're a member, you can see it over at the member channel or at the member videos. And I love Dead Space 2. I'm excited for the remake. The remake they're doing, it's a remake. It is, they're adding new stuff and story and mechanics. I'm totally in. I'm excited. And what they showed visually, cool. And the sound stuff they showed, even though it was a very boring presentation, unless you're into game development, was like, all right, that's cool. I want to play a horror game, of course, with 3D sound and all that shit. And so whatever. But what struck me was the bloat that is not necessary. And I find it, the word that comes to mind, I find it vulgar, right? So what they focused on today was mostly sound, but let me tell you the two things that really stood out to me. The first one was showing the live symphony, playing the music, right? Well, that's costly. It's not needed. In today's world, in a video game, in the context of the game, you cannot tell the difference between a symphonic composition being executed by computers and maybe a couple of unique instruments make sense to be live, or a full symphony. But everybody goes out and spends the money on the symphony. It's good PR. It doesn't make a goddamn bit of difference. Here's another one. Isaac, the main character, his voice. Here's the headline. You're looking at it right here. Hang on. It says this is from IGN. Dead Space remake. Isaac's dialogue will change based on how tired he is. Right? Well, nothing's wrong with that. Fine. It's a little bit of, detail. Who gives a shit, right? It's fine. But ultimately, it, triples a number of the lines that have to be read, whether he's totally fresh, whether he's kind of tired, or he's exhausted. And really doesn't matter, right? All of these things, whether you're talking about that in sound, or whether you're talking about, it almost feels like all of these departments in AAA game development, it's not that they're going in trying to justify their cost. I know, I've worked with these people. They genuinely love and believe what they're working on will add to the game. But again, if you just look at it from a pure standpoint of consumer response to a game, don't you think that a lot of this stuff just feels masturbatory? Doesn't it just feel like, you don't need it. And in a lot of ways, what it's done, it kind of goes back to that debate that people were having over Elden Ring and Ubisoft games in terms of immersion via the maps. Again, this is not about Elden Ring's great, Ubisoft is not. That's not what I'm talking about. But it seems that there's so much busy work. You polish the HUD to a perfect sheen and play test it and bring it back, and then let's make sure that the sound is a symphony, and let's make sure that every dialogue is recorded 3 different times, and then let's make sure that the animation system is more advanced than anything you've ever seen, and on and on and on and on. And does it really fucking matter? Some of it matters, but does it matter? And this is why games cost a lot, and this is why games are costing more for you to buy. Sir Nick says all of God of War's full symphony soundtracks are amazing. I'm sure they are. And I'm sure if I told you that half of the music on those soundtracks was done by a computer, not written by a computer, but played on a computer, you wouldn't know the difference. You'd be surprised. I'm not saying that's the case, but that's the case in a lot of cases. So it's just a question about the bloat. Well, no, see, Ravizl says Sony has proven presentation matters a lot. I don't know if that's true. I don't know. I don't agree. Or you get Crackdown 3. I don't know if that's true. Eric Lennon says it's the equivalent of the no-cut camera in God of War. Absolute waste of time and resources. I agree. I absolutely agree. It's like, it's not that things aren't important, but everything isn't important, right? You pick and choose your battles. If somebody's saying I'm making a Dead Space remake, I agree. 3D audio, not that that's some brand new thing, but making sure the audio, which is a key part of horror, is as good as you can get it. Not soundtrack, but the tech of how the audio affects you as a player. That's spend money there. Making sure we have enough unique variety of monsters. Spend money there. But the idea that Sony has proven that the bloat is a value, I don't know about that. I think Sony, I mean, seriously, this generation will help us know that. Now, again, you're talking to a guy that loves The Last of Us 2, that loves The Last God of War, that loves Days Gone, that adores Ghost Tsushima. But do you really think do you really think Ghost Tsushima would be better or worse if the foot slide on the ground wasn't as perfect as it is? Or do you think Ghost Tsushima would be worse if instead of hiring a 50-person orchestra, they had 3 guys and girls writing it on a keyboard and recording it into a computer with the computer telling this is the string section, these are the horns and all that? Do you really think that's the case? Or do you think we've just gotten used to the marketing and PR telling us this matters? Because if you look at Sony's trajectory, Sony didn't have any real competition last generation. Sony really came up with this cinematic thing. Really, their strongest point so far has been on the PS4. Started a little bit on the PS3, PS4. Well, they weren't competing with anybody on the PS4, right? But now if you look at all the games that really sell substantially more than Sony's games, that tend to be, mobile or free to play or, all the stuff we've talked about before, Roblox, Fortnite, they focus on the gameplay. They absolutely focus on the gameplay. See, Arath Isle says it's the difference between a Mercedes and a Honda. I don't agree with that. I think the production value is in a car. What you get when it's a luxury car is a more comfortable ride. The overall product is better because of it. In a game, what do you get because you have a live symphony orchestra if you can't tell the difference? I think that's a great point. Sergio says, for me, Returnal's the perfect example of a great game from start to finish. I'm excited for the update. Well, I don't hate cinematic games, by the way, but I agree. Returnal is a place I like seeing them spend their money. It's polished, it looks good, it sounds great, the character moves great, it's brilliant to control, and it's fresh and interesting and different. That's important. And no, you don't get to come at me and say Jaffe doesn't like AAA games, Cosmic Bandito. That's simply not true. I literally just fucking told you. Ghost Tsushima, Days Gone, Last of Us 2, the new God of War. What about it? What about it is me not loving AAA games? Yes, I understand Returnal used Sony resources. I'm not saying don't use Sony resources. I'm saying don't use them, or not just Sony, but this isn't even a Sony game. This is an EA game. It just seems bloated and vulgar and disrespectful to the medium. It's, you know what it is? It shows a lack of understanding by big decision makers at these companies that they don't really understand interactivity, and they have gotten confused because so far there's enough of an audience to support it that they think if they make something that looks like a movie that they can sell that, they can understand that, they can PR that, and that's making a really great game. And it's absolutely more and more, and the older I get, more and more I recognize that that is simply not the case. And when you do play something like Elden Ring, or you do see the success amongst a younger generation of things like Fortnite or Roblox, you go, this is a manufactured thing to care about. I'm not saying it's not impressive. Of course it's impressive. Are you kidding me? It's super impressive. But it's not what the medium's about. Could it be a matter of budget? And if they can do it for less once, then it will be expected the next time. I don't know, Cattle, but, you know, I don't know. I'm not sure what their motivation is. Mo says that's a stupid take. The grass in Elden Ring is killing the immersion for me. But, okay, I can't tell you you're right or wrong. I would just say that is a surprising take for me. If you're saying Elden Ring, which to me is one of the most immersive games of all time, if what you're saying, Mo, is that immersion to you gets tripped by the graphics and not what's happening in your head because of the gameplay. I'm not saying I don't feel immersed when I hear a great soundscape, or I don't get immersed if I see nice realistic graphics. But you know, if you've got a little bit of a visual anomaly, or even a lot, but you're engaged in the game, who cares? But you obviously do, and I can't tell you you're wrong. I don't know if you're wrong. I just know that I can't relate at all to that. All right, let me bring in Batou. Batou, what's up? Thanks for calling back. It's Jaffe.
Yeah, so my take, I like your take, by the way, but I guess my other take would be, as a 3D artist, I looked at, like, that whole thing, and I'm like, why, like, I said it earlier, but it's like, why are you showing the wizard behind the curtain? It's like a musician showing somebody, like, how they play a song, or a magician showing, oh, this is how I do how I do the trick. You're ruining everything. I mean,
What are you saying they show that ruins everything? I don't follow.
Well, okay, so like what really stuck out to me is they're showing the weapons, and I'm
okay.
That's okay. Clearly a broken animation.
You're talking about today's Dead Space.
Yeah, I'm talking about Dead Space. And I'm just kind of, I guess I'm just kind of bouncing off what you're saying, but I guess I have a slightly different take. Is like, I don't think it's smart for devs to be doing this. I mean, I think CDPR got really lambasted for doing it.
Yeah, well, like, I mean,
this is what we're doing. This is what we're like deliberating amongst our team, and everybody's expecting all these things that come out of this game. And
you know, I don't know if I can agree with that, only because compared to what you otherwise get, which is a kind of PR sanctioned promo reel where everything's great and everything's perfect, I think as long as expectations are set, and those guys ad nauseum kept telling us this is not final, things will change.
Yeah.
And you either believe that or you don't. I have enough experience that of course I believe that. But I think there's something nice about, you know, lifting up the dress or kind of revealing how this is made for people out there that might want to go into video game development. As long as they set those expectations and say, hey, we're not going to give you a bunch of bullshit. We're going to tell you how the sausage is made, and maybe one day you want to make the sausage. When I was a kid, I loved that. But I do think that ultimately you have to be careful about that messaging and make sure you're messaging it as such. Otherwise, even in today's stream, immediately, even after these guys had said, this is early, the minute Dead Space, the Isaac's running around the spaceship, what did I see in the chat? 3 or 4 people going, that's running at like 20 frames a second. I'm like, yes. and it probably will run at 20 frames a second.
2 months before it comes
right,
out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, all right, man.
I guess that's what it means. Like, people don't get it, you know, they don't understand that, like, the polish comes on, like, the very last, like, couple of months. Like,
yeah, absolutely. All right, man, I got to run. Thank you, sir, for calling. Call back anytime.
Yeah,
All right, fellas. Where did this guy's comment go? I respect your opinion, Jaffe. I loved Elden Ring's soundtrack. Me too. I loved the Bloodborne soundtrack. But I don't know if it was recorded by an orchestra, and it doesn't matter. Because I guarantee you, I could send you... I'm going to put some links up on this video if I remember to do it, when I do the timestamps. And I will challenge you to tell me if it's coming from a real orchestra or not. You can, you know, if you're a music aficionado, yes. Just like, who was the artist? It was some old school guy. Was it Bob Dylan or somebody made his own record company because he's like, I can't stand all this digital stuff. It's got to be the sound of vinyl. And it was super expensive to subscribe to. Well, okay, if you're somebody who works in audio and you have the perfect surround sound set up at home, that's why whenever I would tune my games or mix my games with Sony sound guys, I would say turn off all this crap and play it through a TV. Nobody has what you have. It's like 1% has this beautifully balanced surrounds. Nobody plays like that. So I'm just saying that, you know, it's not really kind of what I think most people really care about. All right, fellas, I do have to run. Thank you so much for spending time with me. I appreciate it. The new members, welcome. The super chats, thank you. Let me make sure I got them all. I think I got them all tonight. I did. Great. Thank you guys very, very much. I will be back certainly Monday, 5 o'clock for Gabbin' Games, and I'll be streaming a bunch this weekend. So I will see you soon. Even if we disagree, I hope you guys appreciate the passion, appreciate the debate, the discussion. It's all done with love and passion for this great medium. And have a smoke of the pipe. There you go, baby. All right. I will see you guys very soon. Be well. Have a great weekend. Bye, everybody. And I love you both. I love you both.